The program known as the Internet Covert Operations Program, or ICOP. ICOP. Idiots. If you're going to make a secret intelligence thing, at least come up with a better acronym.
It's all right. The name for their actual police service is the United States Postal Inspection Service, literally U.S. Piss.
U.S. Piss.
U.S. Piss.
Us piss.
Us piss. Us piss.
ICOP, us piss. Oh.
Ah. I understand.
We are brothers.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Stop it. Get some help.
Stop living a lie.
Hello and welcome.
It's terrible.
Welcome to the Naked Apple.
I'd like to start off. Well, we should start with our vitamin B. We should do that like we usually do, because we do.
It's all right. We only have to worry about coming up with this crap until we get removed from every platform for making fun of Winnie the Pig. And now, onwards and downwards.
How well do you think a Winnie the Pooh shirt would sell?
Probably pretty well, I would think.
Just take it out front of every NBA basketball game. And
we need a Winnie the Pooh shirt and we need a censored shirt.
Set up a booth outside the Jazz every time.
One of our only Facebook comments is yes on the censored shirt.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you. And I love you, random citizen.
I love you, random. That's my buddy. He's my good friend. Welcome to your vitamin B. Today we've got some great news.
Doesn't sound like it.
Starting off, Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, has decided to change his name not once but twice. He first changed it to Douglas, and now he's changed it to Jack. So...
makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Is that because Dog the Bounty Hunter was taken?
Possibly. And also possibly because Jack Emhoff is just such a better name.
Yeah, and Beto.
And fits so much more.
And Beta already is taken by Mr. Oh, no, wait, that's Beto O'Rourke.
Yes, Beta O'Rourke. Beta O'Rourke. You're right, yes. In other news... we have some disturbing news here.
Oh, this is supposed to be uplifting.
We must stop eating beef to fight climate change, says scientist who looks suspiciously like Chick-fil-A cow in a lab coat. I don't know what they were doing in that lab, but it got out of hand.
Did he misspell things?
Hey, well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to read. It's all very big, blocky letters with paint dripping down. It's strange.
He really wanted to get the
You would think
across.
that he would learn how to use a shaker can if he was going to graffiti like that, but...
He's old school.
Yes, apparently.
Old school.
In other news, new law will require cops to call LeBron for permission before making an arrest.
That makes sense.
It does.
Really.
It makes perfect sense. And it goes hand in hand with the Portland mayor's new announcement. He announced today that plans to crack down on Antifa before it gets out of hand.
Good. Good.
It is a...
He must be using Internet Explorer.
He must be.
Gonna raid Area 51, guys.
And, In other news having to do with mayors that everyone hates, Gavin Newsom fights back against Caitlyn Jenner's run for mayor by announcing he too is now transgender.
Fight fire with fire.
Fight fire with fire, indeed.
When you don't have policies to win them over, just change your gender.
Yeah. In other news, the Oscars were this week, and we have a couple of things to do with that. The first one, L.A. homeless man feeling unsafe as limos full of drug addicts and perverts show up in his neighborhood.
And pedophiles.
Indeed. And also on that note, he was then later removed from the premises as the Oscars were delayed to clear out the massive tent city on the red carpet.
Yes. Good.
Yes.
Want to make it look clean for all the celebrities going through.
For all of you with children, there's a new hot item on the market.
Ooh.
Play School has released My First Knife Fight playset, and it is
good.
selling like hotcakes.
It's about
It is about time.
slicing through the competition.
'Tis about time.
Records are shooting up.
And
Too soon.
last but not least, Dems demand statehood for Epstein's private island.
Because of course.
Because, of course, why not?
Naturally.
It would net them 2 more Senate seats and at least 6 more House reps.
That's bad.
In other news, they also propose a form of the 3/5 clause that is unclear, and they won't let us read it until it is passed. And that has been your Vitamin B.
We need to ratify this amendment. What is it? We got to ratify
We got to
it,
ratify
then I'll tell you what it
in
is.
order to tell you what it is.
I'm going to pull that, and the amendment's just going to kick every single one of them out of office. If you've been serving for more than 2 terms, you're out.
Should I feel bad about the fact that about 25% of what I just said I made up on the spot?
Or should you feel good? Nobody noticed. They thought it was more Babylon Bee.
That whole 3/5 clause, that was all me.
But it would be something that they do. Yeah.
Well, especially tied to that particular article it was talking about. That's really bad.
Speaking of a couple of
you got dark.
Speaking of a couple of those things, the DC statehood is sitting somewhere on the Senate pile and most likely will fail from insiders talking.
Oh, good. Because it should.
Yeah, because, I don't know, it's unconstitutional and it violates the contract with Maryland that the federal government has with Maryland.
It's all right, because pretty soon they won't even be able to pass stuff like that through the House.
Well, they need they don't have representation. Make them part of Maryland. No, they need representation.
So make it part of Maryland.
Put them in Maryland, they'll have representation. No, we need to make it its own state. Okay, Texas legally can become 4 more states. So let's split Texas into 5 states. No, you can't do that. That's just a political thing. And what you're doing isn't
Right? Well, you know. It's all right, because
ours is legal. Yours is not.
did you hear the new news on the census?
Yes. Yes. I actually meant to pull that up in our stuff. I forgot about that.
Oh, yes, we should pull that up in our stuff.
Yeah, in our stuff.
If you want to continue on to the first thing, I can go look for that.
All right. So we want to lead with mistakes, as you know. It's not our mistake that we're leading with, though. It's YouTube's mistake because they issued no apology to us and reinstated the video that they banned last week.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it's not blocked anymore. It's still there. But no apology was sent, no explanation.
Did they remove the warning they gave us?
I don't know. Probably not.
How do we know? How can we tell?
I'm sure there's somewhere on our creator page that does that, and I don't care to really look for it because I don't really care about YouTube and what they think because they've been wrong every time they've slapped at us. So. I just want to lead with that mistake.
That's a good thing to lead with.
Apologize for nothing if you were always right.
Now, don't get too cocky there.
Apologize for nothing if you are right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Better.
Always. 60% of the time, every time. Related, trust in institutions and the political process is all below 50%.
And shocking.
And in that, and this is a study of young Americans between 18 and 29 years old. So it's the demographic everyone's always trying to get. Got to get those young Americans active in the process to vote and la 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 la. For example, in the last 12 months, trust in the president decreased from 39% to 32%. Huh.
Wow.
Huh.
But this is a different president, too.
So Joe Biden's trusted less than the president that was here a year ago.
Well, I mean, at least the president that was here a year ago could make a coherent sentence in the middle of a press conference.
That helps.
Instead of talking about Nazi fags. And
flags.
I am quoting. That is a quote,
that's
by the way.
Exactly what he
said.
said.
That is a direct quote. And we should probably link the video just to make sure we don't get flagged for that.
Right. That's on you. You brought it up. You find it. Let's see. Where's one thing I hate about... there we go. So social media, for example, the percentage of 18, 29-year-olds who have a Facebook, Google, all that stuff, that basically all the social media grew in users over the last while. But where did you put this? Reload. Okay. Well, apparently we can't keep searching through this. This is dumb. I can hear it on your speaker. Anyways, in this study, social media outlets like Facebook and Twitter are trusted or are mostly trusted or somewhat trusted 19% of the time. 19% of respondents fully trust or somewhat trust social media. And then it was something like 89% say, no, we don't trust them. It's almost as if them putting their little, this talks about COVID, just click here to learn more, isn't helping them.
Yeah. Well, you know how it goes.
Yeah. But this is a Harvard Kennedy School Institute of Politics did this survey, and if it was working for us, I can more accurately go through the rest of it. But everything is down, including trust in the military, trust in the FBI, trust in the president. All these things down, 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 just like viewership of the Oscars. Down, down.
Down, down, and an early round.
Oh. Sugar, they're going
down swinging. Be a number one with the bullet. Loaded God complex, cock it and pull it.
Did I give you enough time to find the thing?
Yes.
Did you send the thing?
I did send the thing.
You did.
Refresh. Refresh. I even clipped it at the exact moment.
Oh.
When he talks about it.
You got that and the other thing.
Mm-hmm. Both things.
Nazi fags, flags, Jews in the...
Yeah, see, he just gets worse as he goes on. Jews in the... the thing.
Nazi sympathizers, carrying Nazi fags, flags, Jews in the...
I need to go away. My medication is wearing...
He knows he screwed up.
Is it dinner?
All right, so yeah, census was last year. If you didn't fill out your census, shame on you.
Yes.
Because New York found out the hard way by 89 non-respondents that they lost a seat.
Along with California, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Every one of them lost a seat.
There's a little bit of a trend I'm noticing here.
Yes, the states that gained one or more seats are Colorado, Florida, Montana. Montana gained a seat? There's someone who lives in Montana?
Oh, they finally surpassed the deer population.
North Carolina, Oregon, and Texas.
Which gained 2.
Ouch.
2 seats.
2 seats in Texas.
So this is just funny to me because I see California like, I wonder why people left California. Illinois, I wonder why people left Chicago. Michigan, why are people leaving Michigan? New York, why are people leaving New York? I can understand why people leave Ohio.
There were people in Ohio to leave.
Exactly.
They had 16 reps before, so they're down to 15. So they're actually quite a large population there.
That's a hit.
That's a hit.
Pennsylvania. Why did people leave Pennsylvania?
I wonder.
Doesn't have anything to do with, I don't know, riots and Democrat leaderships.
And why is that, Mr. Reed?
Because it's devastating to my case.
Overruled.
Good call.
The reason why I know it has nothing to do with that is because Texas only gained 2.
But Montana also gained 1.
Florida only gained 1, and Montana gained 1. That's how I know it's not political, is because those 3 conservative bastions of hope gained. Wait. Oregon, I'm almost certain, is people left California for less progressive Oregon. This is too progressive. I'm going somewhere less progressive, where they're voting
but
on...
not really conservative.
Where they're debating on whether or not to have masks permanently in place.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Thank you, Fauci.
I think the situation calls for more cowbell.
It does. There it is.
There it is.
Speaking of more cowbell, our favorite Canadian pastor is at it again.
And a man.
The Gestapo showed back up during church services.
Of course they did.
Again.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, friends, we have a SWAT team in our church again, coming, authorities. So I'm going to go out and see what they want.
Give them hell, Pastor.
That's a very high-quality video there.
Yes,
on his
hello,
phone.
Walter.
He was ready this time.
I wonder if I can just give you a copy, please, of the court order. This is for you. It basically outlines the fact we have the right to enter today.
Court order.
What I would really...
Please, you don't have to get into a personal space. Thank you.
Don't get into my personal space.
Don't get into my personal
Excuse me,
space.
Officer
I'm
Gestapo.
not really interested in what you have to say.
I'm not really interested in what you have to say.
Reading.
Okay.
You can have all the court orders you
What we
want.
want to do is make sure that we're not going to disrupt anything in the service. The idea
But
is...
this is, you have a wrong. This is not street church. This is not street church. You have a wrong.
Both things are actually on there. Both churches are detailed on there. So if we could come and do
The
an
Cave of
inspection-
Adullam is not a registered organization, and this is not street church. So you have a wrong. You gotta do your homework first before you come. Okay? You have a wrong. You have a wrong organization.
Okay, that is for you, Arta.
Yeah.
I will send it to you by email too, if you'd like. I just wanted to be able to come today and then at least explain the order, serve the order, and then we can stand at the back.
No, you can contact.
stand at the
No.
back.
You can contact my lawyer. Okay, my lawyer takes care of this.
And then we can be out
I'm not interested to listen to any word.
She's
you have
used to
say.
people just
I
bending
do not
over to her
cooperate
will.
with the Gestapo.
Yeah, you can
I do
kinda
not
tell.
talk
Yeah.
to the Nazis. You came in your uniforms like thugs. That's what you are. Brown shirts of Adolf Hitler. You're Nazi, Gestapo, communist, fascist. I do not.
So to be clear on where I stand, I support police officers that are actually
Cooperate.
doing good for the public. I do not support police officers who harass and back up unelected public officials. That's what I don't support, police. I will support you if you will support freedom.
With Nazis. Talk to my lawyer. You're not allowed here. You're not welcomed here. And I'm not going
This
to
guy must know
cooperate with
everything about the laws and
Gestapo
orders
like you, okay?
for them to
So
not
is that
just
fair enough for
arrest
you?
him
Right.
on the
to my
spot.
lawyer.
I just wanted to explain a little bit about the order.
I'm not
I just wanted
interested.
to at least
I'm
have a
not
conversation.
interested.
I'm
Talk
not
to my
interested in
lawyer.
talking. You see, this is what the Gestapo is doing. You're coming to the place of worship to intimidate and to harass. So you can make an appointment. Lady, listen to me. You can make an appointment another day. You Gestapo.
You don't need to shout.
Another day. Not this day.
To shout.
No need to
this
shout.
Day.
Okay.
Not during the church.
Not during the
Understand?
church.
He's told you your
Make an
order is wrong. He's
appointment.
told you to leave. He's told you to
Okay.
talk to his
So
lawyer.
go.
Get out.
See you later on. Have a good day.
You
ya.
are
Cop trying to be all
That's
nice.
what you are.
See you later. Have a good day. Yeah,
And
whatever.
rightfully so, you change your uniforms to black because you're exactly acting like the Gestapo of old. Sickening.
I'm like,
What
like
this
reading along the
country came
transcript
to.
here with it.
Coming to the place of worship with their uniform, with their guns, again, during the time of worship.
I'm just
They
thoroughly
could do
impressed
it
by the
another
quality of
time.
the
They
video.
could
he's
He
do
was
it
ready
another
this time.
day.
He saw them.
No,
The last
they are
time was,
following
I
the
think, a little
orders
more
of the
out of the blue.
Führer.
This time he knew they were
Hitler,
coming.
communist.
Look at them. They got their vans,
Unbelievable.
paddy wagons.
Unbelievable. Wicked, evil people. Wicked, evil people. Unbelievable.
Wear a mask. Did you hear her?
Wear a mask.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Come back over here. I'll tell you where you can put that.
Excuse me, ma'am. You came up to me. Yeah. If ever I find myself in Canada for some godforsaken reason, I'm going to his church.
Oh yes, definitely.
Because he's
Love the
probably got
comments, like the conversation underneath at the Daily Wire too. Like, I'm not religious in any form whatsoever. This pastor makes me want to drive to Calgary and spend a week in his church. What a beauty of a human being.
well, as you will hear later in our episode, I've got history thing, and a lot of it has to do with pastors. Well, a good chunk of it has to do with pastors. Because they were they used to be pretty influential in politics.
Used to could.
Used to good, because they actually used to have a spine, like this guy.
Mm-hmm. I like this guy.
Speaking of overreach, the Supreme Court is taking up a case.
Oh, I thought you said overreach, not reach around.
Overreach around?
Overreach around.
I'm too funny for my own good. Or clever. Too clever. Yeah, so they're taking up it's actually a pretty big Second Amendment case in the next time they meet together this year, related to concealed carry. There's a case from New York, I believe. Yes, New York, concerning New York law that restricts a person from carrying a concealed handgun in public for self-defense, marking roughly a decade since justices have ruled on a significant case about gun rights. What's fascinating to me is places like New York have these restrictions. You can still carry in public legally in New York if you have thousands of dollars to pay the state to get that license. So they've made it so poor people can't legally defend themselves, but rich people legally
You have
can.
the right to do this if you have the money to pay the fee for
But
it.
remember, Democrats are the party of the poor people, which tells you that they need to keep you poor so they can stay in power.
I was going to say, yeah,
But
this is
Republicans
the interesting
are the
thing
evil
about
party
that.
of the rich, which means that they want to make you rich so they can stay in power. Right?
That's basically, yeah.
Basically.
Basically.
Think it through. Think it through. They turned it down right before Ginsburg's death. See, the Paul Clement representing the challengers said the court should use the case to settle the issue once and for all of if you are legally allowed to carry a firearm in public for self-defense. No matter what the court decides, the answer is yes.
I was going to say, technically, the answer is yes if you're not afraid of...
It's only illegal if you get caught. Right. The nation is split.
My recommendation is if you ever have to defend yourself, hide the body.
The nation is split with the Second Amendment alive and well in the vast middle of the nation, and those same rights disregarded near the coasts. Clement wrote on behalf of calling on the court to reject the appeal. The state said its law promotes public safety and crime reduction and neither bans people from carrying guns nor allows everyone to do so. Right. Only the extremely rich and wealthy are allowed to do so, or they can pay for bodyguards that are legally allowed to do so.
Either of which requires
a lot of money.
Ridiculous ass loads of money. I wish I could sit on one of their wallets so that I could kiss the top of the Empire State Building.
Right. Yeah, so that's a thing, I guess. And this is see, New York saying this
shouldn't be a thing.
On the heels of a 73% increase of their police force in New York City retiring or quitting.
Yeah, well,
it's a matter of public safety. Is it? Are you sure?
Yes, it is a matter of public safety.
Because I'm sure
in order to make the public safe, we should arm them. Because your cops are retiring and quitting in droves.
You have no police force, and I'm sure if we looked it up, there wouldn't be an increase in crime currently.
Actually, I believe the percentage is about 96% in homicides in the last.
It's facts, whatever, doesn't matter. There's a case
I know one
right
of the gun-free cities had an increase of 124%, if I remember correctly.
One of the same cities that said we don't need police.
Yeah, one of those ones.
Odd how that happens. Mm-hmm. Strange.
Interesting. It's weird even.
Yeah.
Like, let's take away guns. Now let's piss off our cops and have them go home and just see what happens.
And then we have these jackwagons from Politico. Why gun control is now a matter
this article's
of national
full of shit.
Security. Well, it's not because Stephen Simon, an international relations professor at Colby College, served on the National Security Council during the Clinton and Obama administrations, including as senior director for counterterrorism, and Jonathan Stevenson, a senior fellow at the International Institute for Strategic Studies and managing editor for Survival, served on the NSC as a director for political military affairs, Middle East and North Africa from 2000 to 2013. So these guys know what they're talking about.
Yeah, all I heard in that entire thing was blah, 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 I'm an idiotic prick. So
yeah. Yeah.
No, seriously, like look at the credentials on those people. Okay, Colby College, National Security Council. So rich, political, in someone's pocket.
Only for two Democrat administrations. Obviously somebody who pushes the agenda that they push. Okay, so that's biased and slanted. Okay, next one. A senior fellow at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Okay, so this is a guy who has globalist agenda. So, slanted. So, like I said, idiotic, arrogant pricks. What is it? The mouth is moving.
It's this one.
The eyes are open, the mouth moves, but Mr. Brain has long since departed, hasn't he?
And because I am not a fan of the just random name calling, seriously, just look at the numbers. Anybody who's ever held a gun, used a gun, actually owned a weapon, had to purchase a weapon, knows that all the stuff that they're putting forward is bullshit. Why don't you shoot him in the leg? Well, I can tell from that statement you've never fired a weapon. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We really should at some point do the whole picking apart the argument thing, because it is too big to do succinctly in a little thing like this. But, like, really, the amount of information that is neglected in this kind of opinion.
Yeah, we share Biden's view that the level of U.S. gun violence is a national embarrassment.
Biden's a national embarrassment.
See, which leader was it that was wearing not one but two face masks at a Zoom
Depends.
meeting with world leaders? Yes, Depends were probably involved. Yeah, it was
Biden.
The leader of the free world, Joe Biden, the most powerful leader in the world, wearing two face masks in a Zoom conference with...
Well, he was just worried
other
that it was
world
going to
leaders.
change into a computer virus. And
I mean, it's evolving so rapidly.
it is.
Yeah, all kinds of strains. But as National Security Council veterans who have specialized in counterterrorism with direct experience involving far-right American terrorism, really? Because there's not any far-left terrorism going on? There's not...
Well, no, because if it's far left, it's mostly peaceful.
It's mostly peaceful, like the time that they threw a bomb into the congressional building.
Well, yeah, as you can see, it's mostly peaceful.
Mostly peaceful. There was just one bomb that blew out lots of windows in the building and did actual physical damage to the building.
But nobody died.
Nope, nobody died on January 6th either, except for the lady that was shot by police. Oh, wait.
And the 4 other people
Who died of heart attacks or something like that.
Oh.
Also were part of the crowd, not part of the police.
Oh.
Oh, look, they say show of force on January 6th. Yeah, that was quite the far-right show of force on January 6th, wasn't it? They were just armed to the teeth, automatic weapon fire coming in, throwing bombs into the... Oh, no, wait, that's not... That was... Yeah, that was Chop. Or Chaz. That's
Chaz.
They had firearms going off everywhere, and still in Oregon, they're burning and down federal buildings and trying to lock federal agents inside those buildings as they burn.
Oh, and how many states have had their Capitol buildings seized by rioters since then?
Well, it started with Michigan with the anti-lockdown protests, the far-right people that just stood there inside the building.
Oh, no. I was talking about the last couple of weeks since the Chauvin trial started where, what is it?
Right,
2 or 3
are
capitals
protests.
now that
those
the
are peaceful protests, but the Michigan,
right, yeah,
the far right
mostly
extremists
peaceful protests that took over
were
Capitol buildings,
standing, doing nothing in the public areas of the Capitol building. Yeah.
Have you ever just wanted to hit somebody with a stick till they make sense?
I'm afraid I would break too many sticks before that happened.
That's the problem, isn't it?
It's not a stick big enough. Let's see. I don't know. This is a Bolshevik article.
Yeah, it is.
I read it a while ago and whatever. Meanwhile, the broad dispersal of mass casualties, small arms, makes every individual willing to use one a potentially Catholic lone wolf terrorist on the order of Brenton Tarrant, the Islamophobic white supremacist who killed 51 people with a semi-automatic shotgun and AR-15 style rifle at a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand. Wait.
Christchurch, New Zealand. Where...
Hold on. New Zealand? Where New Zealand...
In March
North
2019?
Carolina, or
No. New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Like the country. New Zealand.
Oh, so not the U.S. is their biggest example. Oh. But, you know, if you point out that it was Islamic extremists that shot up the place in California, that shot up the couple of military bases, that drove a car into DC police, yeah, you're an Islamophobe or something. But it's not Islamic extremism.
Yeah.
It's something else.
Yeah, New Zealand, where at the time you were required to have a license in order to own a firearm.
Oh, and this guy had that license, I'm sure.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Of course he did. Why wouldn't he?
Nothing he had was obtained illegally. Many far-right American militias, including the anti-authoritarian Boogaloo Boys, explicitly encourage their followers to act on their own initiative. Okay. As Tarrant did in Leaderless Resistance Against the State, and several, starting with Timothy McVeigh, have done so. Oh, the symbol of militia volunteers carrying assault weapons. It's so a knife. They're carrying knives, rocks. What are assault weapons? Anything you commit assault with? Brass knuckles. The reality of their using them lethally have historically been enormously powerful social forces. Oh, like the protest groups that put cement mix into milkshakes and threw them at cops, committing assault with bricks and frozen. Oh no, wait, that was left wing. Yeah. Yeah, and they use Northern Ireland, the IRA, also. Still looking for a U.S. thing other than January 6th, which had no firearm usage. Which tells me, well, let's find any way we can to, I don't know, make it so it's almost impossible to own a firearm.
Yeah.
Because we can't do it with statistics within the U.S. We have to leave the United States to show how bad it is.
Yeah, and go to a country where there's already much stricter gun laws.
And anything we find in the U.S. is from some of the strictest gun law places in the country.
Yeah.
Where they're already doing
we just have to ban gun laws because then nobody will ever kill anybody.
Oh, if the law doesn't exist, then they can't... Wait.
Says the person who's blatantly ignoring the mass knife stabbings in China that led to the knife ban.
Oh, and the mass knife stabbings in the UK that led to knife bans. To the point where police don't carry firearms.
Yeah.
It's going real good for them over there, isn't it? Real
good.
Halt, or I shall simulate the sound of gunfire. Pow, pow, pow.
Bang, pop, pow.
Get back here, you yank. All right. In case you missed it, something kind of odd. So the post office has been losing money like crazy for a while, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. This might be why. So the post office has a division where it's been tracking people's social media and letting government agencies know about what they find in social media.
The USPS Secret Service, or USPSSS.
Pieces
or US piss.
US piss. What do you do for the post office? Oh, I spy on you. What? Yeah, I get paid to spy on people.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Well, it did. So if you remember when they put up the barricades and stuff in Washington because there was a threat coming, and they said, we'll probably take them down March 20th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out the post office let intelligence agencies know that they found out that a couple people want to start a fight at a rally near the Capitol on March 20th. Huh. So because the post office decided someone wants to fight somebody, DC goes into lockdown. Cool. The program known as the program known as the Internet Covert Operations Program, or ICOP. ICOP. Idiots. If you're gonna make a secret intelligence thing, at least come up with a better acronym.
It's all right. The name for their actual police service is the United States Postal Inspection Service. Literally, U.S. Piss.
U.S. Piss.
U.S. Piss.
Us piss. Us
Us
piss.
piss. Us piss.
ICOP. Us piss. Oh.
Ah. I understand.
We are brothers.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah. They told them that Parler users have commented about their intent to use the rallies to engage in violence. Oh. Image 3 on the right is a screenshot from that. There's no image here, but this is what it says. Image 3 on the right is a screenshot from Parler indicating two users discussing the event as an opportunity to engage in a fight and do serious damage. It was a nationwide protest dubbed the Worldwide Rally for Freedom and Democracy. We're not a democracy. Bulletin concluded, no intelligence is available to suggest the legitimacy of these threats. Oh, but let's put up a fence and keep the National Guard there anyway, because fences don't work. Neither do enforcing borders with more personnel. Am I doing this right? Is that how it works?
Pretty much.
Okay, cool. Fauci. Fauci.
Fauci.
Fauci, the Fauciist. The Fauciist, Fauci.
The Fauciist.
They might be trying to screw me.
Well, of course they're trying to screw you.
He's caught up to us once again, and again, government, if you're listening, which I think you are, that big NSA building in Utah says that you most likely are. We will do Fauci's job for half his salary.
And not even half his salary each. We will split half his salary. That sounds like a butt-slapping happy good deal to me. I don't see a downside.
Because, I don't know, he's saying exactly what we said.
Talk about masks. I mean, you're seeing more and more talk about it. I know the CDC is looking at perhaps revising their guidance about wearing masks outdoors at this time. What's your best guidance on that at this point?
You know, I don't want to get ahead of them, George, but I think it's pretty common sense now that outdoor risk is really quite low.
Hold on.
Guidance about wearing masks outdoors at this time. What's your best guidance on that at this point?
You know, I don't want to get ahead of them, George, but I think it's pretty common sense now that outdoor risk is really quite low, particularly, I mean, if you were a vaccinated person wearing a mask outdoors, I mean, obviously the risk is minuscule. What I believe you're going to be hearing.
He chooses very specific words. I don't know if you caught that. So I think it's pretty common sense, George, that you don't need to wear a mask outside. Like,
Science.
This is after, earlier in this interview, he says the CDC is an institution of science.
Because I only believe in science.
The same CDC that changed its 2-week quarantine to 1 week because, not research and all this stuff, but because U.S. citizens are more likely to stay home for 1 week instead of 2 weeks.
Because that's all part of the plan.
No studies, nothing. It's just that's what they determined because Americans hate Fauci and his lies. So now all these people the day before Fauci said this that were, why aren't you wearing a mask when you're walking around outside? Because I'm outside. You can still get people dead. Now, Fauci saying it's pretty common sense. Oh, yeah, well, if it's common sense.
Common sense is not so common anymore.
No, it's not so common anymore. And
Used to be that you could trust your fellow man to have a higher IQ than a jellyfish.
Don't insult jellyfish like that.
It's hard to. They don't have a brain. Literally, they're just a clump of nerves.
Clump of nerves. Clump of nerves. But what does that say about all the rocks in society? Fauci said it's common sense. It's common sense. Yeah, all of you donned 2 masks as soon as he said it makes sense that 2 masks would work better, even though all of the research says, no, it doesn't really help at all that way. In fact, they had to hurry and scramble to find one bit of research that said it gave a minuscule amount of stuff to put on the CDC website the week that he said 2 masks makes logical sense. It's so...
That was a much better analogy than I actually thought it was before I said it. Because jellyfish, literally, they don't have a heart or a brain.
They just kind of drift with the current.
Literally just a clump of nerves, which is why it's so easy to touch a nerve on so many of them.
And they just kind of...
speak does not make you intelligent.
Yes. And they just kind of drift around wherever the ocean carries them.
That's right.
Huh.
That's it. No longer calling them snowflakes. I'm calling them jellyfish.
Do it.
Huge jellyfish.
Stop being a jellyfish.
That's going to be a new shirt. We have a new shirt idea. The beginnings of a new shirt idea.
An apple jumping on the top like Dory. We have too many shirt ideas.
Just an apple.
Not enough people buying them, but
it's an apple poking a jellyfish with a stick, saying, "Am I touching a nerve yet?
Have I touched a nerve yet?" Then on the back, drift along.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep drifting. Just keep drifting. What do? You wait for them to tell you. Drifting. All right. Rose McGowan. I know nothing about this story, so this is all Michael.
Oh, yes. Yes. So, Rose McGowan, for those of you that don't remember who she is off the top of your head, she was one of the original actresses from the good version of Charmed.
Oh.
And I use good loosely. I just insulted half of our fan base.
Just because it's better than the revamp does not necessarily mean it's good.
So Rose McGowan made headlines again this week as she went on Fox News and made some inflammatory statements, to put it lightly. Is there actually the video clip of the Fox News article here? Yeah, it is, down at the bottom.
Oh, there's video evidence.
There's video evidence.
It doesn't want to let me do...
It doesn't want to let you do the thing?
Democrats control 2 branches of government and are attempting to control the 3rd by packing the Supreme Court with liberal justices.
This is 8 minutes long,
On top
so...
of that, the 4th estate, the media,
don't know exactly where it is
continues to look
in this
the other
video.
way. And now, my next guest says she is fed up with the politics of it all. Joining me now with her first Fox News appearance is one of my heroes, Rose McGowan, former actress, best-selling author, change maker, and one of Time Magazine's Persons of the Year. May I say, Rose, that you are also my Person of the Year, if not for several years. Having been in several years, I have no doubt.
She kind of looked like her in the picture I saw.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Tammy.
You know, this is, you are known by many people based on how the media has chosen to portray you. It's in snippets, it's in blocks. We know that your life has been unique. You've had important experiences that you've taken action on, but not a lot of people have heard directly from you about why that's important, what you're doing now. You're an entrepreneur, you're a businesswoman. We're going to talk about that soon. But talk to everyone here who may, for the first time, may be seeing you directly after hearing your name for so long, having done such a great job in standing up for your rights, coming, and what's important about
She's still talking.
For very many people, as it was for me, you know, and my persecution, an awakening from being a Democrat was so much about what I do and what I say now, and so much about realizing how hardcore of a cult it is.
You know,
right there. That was what she said.
To women and
It's
the
a
people
cult.
it says it's going to help.
One of the things that she said.
And
so
it very much is. It's a death cult.
This article goes on for a little bit. And to be fair, she puts it on both sides, but she's very specific about the Democrats, which has gotten a lot of people up
until very recently,
you know,
that's what she used to be.
Right. And so for those who don't understand the background for her, she was raised in a cult when she was a child.
So she knows a thing or two because she's seen a thing or two.
Yeah, she was rescued from a cult, and so her big inflammatory thing was that she just called the Democrats a deep cult. So
she was part of the Me Too thing.
Yes, she was instrumental in the Me Too movement. And then she came on and did this with Fox News, saying that she believes Democrats and their supporters are in a deep cult and don't even realize it. I'm not here to make people feel bad about their political choices, she said, but I am here to say that you might be in a cult too if you don't know the signs. And I do believe Democrats, most especially, are in a deep cult that they really don't know about and aren't really aware of.
Ooh.
Democrats masquerade as humanitarians despite being against changing the world for the better. They're for a system that is for so few people and benefits so few, but they masquerade as the helpers. We would do this. The world would be perfect if only those Republicans would get out of the way. So
is what she says the Democrats say.
Is what she says the Democrats say. Yeah, that was her quoting what she thinks of them. Anyway, and then she added, if you are serving a master that is not serving you, you are in a cult. She also said that she doesn't feel that Republicans or Republican voters are the same because they are mainly upfront about what they're for and what they're against. My persecution and awakening from being a Democrat was so much about what I do and what I say now, and so much about realizing how hardcore of a cult it is, which is the part that we just played.
Yes.
What part of it is organic to you, and what part has been implanted either by Hollywood or the media or your leaders? What part of it is truly yours? What's organic to you? See what's the polyester and pull it out of your fabric. We have to examine what we believe and why. Look at your belief systems and get free, is what she said. So there's that from somebody who was born, or well, not born, but raised in a cult.
Did you see the... This is an example kind of what she's talking about, at least from the conservative side. Bill Maher.
I've seen Bill Maher.
Probably 95% of the time, if not more, I disagree with him.
It works every time?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I disagree with him on a lot of stuff.
Almost everything.
But every once in a while, he comes out with things like the last thing he did was calling out Democrats and the corporate media for lying about COVID stuff, for not being clear on the data behind COVID. And he cited a study that found that conservative media was more accurate in the actual COVID statistics than progressive media was. Like, well, thank you. If you've lost Bill Maher... That being said, I still don't like Bill Maher. I wouldn't trust him as a political figure, but I will give credit where credit is due because I don't just subscribe to Republican this, conservative that. I subscribe to here's a set of principles. Who lines up with those principles? And whenever someone that usually doesn't line up with those principles does, I'll call them out on it and say, hey, that's a good thing. Keep doing the good thing. And when someone that usually lines up with their principles falls out of line, I'll call them out on it and say, hey, that's a bad thing. Stop doing the bad thing.
Don't do the bad thing.
Don't do the bad, do the good. Yeah. Yeah. But I wholeheartedly agree. It's a death cult. They're obsessed with death.
No, it's like you said earlier, and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately too. Is like they profess to be the party of the poor, the downtrodden, and all this different stuff. But if they're the party of that, then why would they want to make people not be that anymore?
Why is it that an unusually large percentage of the leadership in that party has multiple houses, multiple millions of dollars, while their average follower, quote unquote average follower, is poor and can't even get by on minimum wage?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Republicans are so evil because all they care about is rich stuff. Where your average Republican leadership has whatever the salary of a senator or congressman would expect to have, where they don't necessarily, some of them might have multiple homes, but most of them, if they have a lot of money, it's because they had it before they got into politics. Like Donald Trump, who lost money while he was president. And George Bush, who he had money because his family has been in politics for a while, but at the same time, when he was done being president, he went home and painted. The Obamas, well, they signed multi-million-dollar contracts with Netflix and book deals to sell books that nobody buys. Same with the Clintons. Same with, well, Jimmy Carter, for the most part, went home and did his own thing.
Well, people don't have to buy Kamala's book. She's handing it out at the border.
She's handing it out at the border because nobody wants to buy it.
But she won't go to the border to talk to those people. She just wants them to read her book.
But it's okay because Biden put her in charge of the border.
Right.
So what better way?
So
to talk
what
about
better
the border
way to
than
take care of the border than not go there?
Than by never visiting it and telling Biden, hey, you should hire this sheriff that was against every single Trump policy on the border to be in charge of ICE. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Look it up. That just happened today.
Brilliant.
So, in the pile of things progressives do,
flaming hot garbage.
Flaming hot garbage. And most of it is connected to racism because it's a bunch of white supremacists, racism, blah, 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 all that stuff. Did you see that hand sanitizer dispensers are racist? Automatic dispensers?
Oh, yes, I did.
Because it forces black people to show the palms of their hands, which are not as dark as the rest of their skin.
Just funny because it's not based on actually anything other than heat. It's based on
infrared.
Infrared. It's an infrared sensor.
Which every living thing emits infrared light, so it detects that and it spits it out.
So they're not the only ones that have an issue getting the soap.
I cannot tell you how many times I've stuck my hand under a faucet or a soap dispenser and it doesn't dispense soap. Half of that is because it's a manual one. The other half is because you just don't have your hand in the right spot or you're doing it too fast.
The trick when you know that it's an infrared sensor is
warm your hands up.
Warm your hands up and
so
then
you're
stick
saying
it
you
under.
shouldn't be washing your hands with cold water.
No.
Oh.
That's no.
Anyway, Biden's UN ambassador, this is not the first time and it probably won't be the last time, should not be an ambassador to the UN because they're an apologist. I miss Nikki Haley.
They tried
already.
to debunk things that are untrue about stuff?
No, they just reiterate garbage and think it's true because it's popular or something. I don't know. Biden UN ambassador says white supremacy is weaved into the U.S. founding documents. It's woven right in there. All that stuff. Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield told the Human Rights Council the original sin of slavery weaved white supremacy into our founding documents. As the Biden administration lobbies the body to readmit the United States.
Go pound sand.
So, just to be clear, the human rights body of the UN, the United States is not part of the human rights body of the UN. The United States pays, what is it, half of the UN budget?
Ha!
But on the body for human
Look
rights,
at that list.
China, Cuba, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and North Korea. Uyghur camps. People love Cuba so much they're floating away from it on trash. Venezuela, where they're eating the zoo animals. Saudi Arabia, where women can't do a thing. And North Korea, where who knows how many human rights violations are occurring.
Did you almost just say war crimes?
Almost. Because we're almost there.
This is pretty much there. Good hell. Those are the ones on the Human Rights Board?
Yeah, this happened like 2 weeks ago, and it pissed me off enough to start doing research for a thing that that this is going to lead into for a little history lesson, so you can be armed with things. Thomas Greenfield made the remarks while delivering a speech to a virtual National Action Network conference Wednesday, where she argued that the imperfect union of America must approach issues of equity and justice at the global scale with humility. No, sweetheart. There's no equity in the United States. It is specifically designed as such.
The best way to take care of the globe is to take care of America.
Yeah. And I will prove that point in part of history. We have to acknowledge that we are an imperfect union. We do. Our founding document says in order to establish a more perfect union.
Which denotes that we are currently an imperfect.
It implies union. That we have not reached perfection, and this is a route to reach perfection. And have been since the beginning. Yeah, again, founding document says that we're not. And every day we strive to make ourselves more perfect. Yes, as the document says we should. And more just. In a diverse country like ours, that means committing to do the work. She told the human rights body, which includes China, Cuba, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and North Korea, that the United States needs to engage trailblazing groups like yours in order to improve.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
So let me get this straight. Saudi Arabia, where they're throwing gay people off of rooftops for being gay. Women can't drive. Women can't do a lot of stuff in society unless their husband is present, or a brother or a father. North Korea, where they're just thriving there, aren't they? China, where they've got Uyghurs and anyone that opposes the government in camps if they're not disappeared already. Cuba, where the Castros have killed who knows how many people, and to the point where people are fleeing Cuba on trash to get to Florida. And Venezuela, where they used to be a thriving capitalist country, but now that they've implemented just a dash of socialism, crime is rampant. People are starving to death to the point where they're eating flamingos and whatever else they can get at the zoo. Trailblazing groups like yours.
Son of a bitch! You done messed up, Aaron!
Yeah. Oh, look. I can't breathe. Yeah, that's... Every single one of your stupid marches, BLM, is based off of a lie.
Every one of them.
Even the founding of BLM is based off of a lie. Hands up, don't shoot. Yeah, he didn't say that. He was actually attacking the cop. According to eyewitnesses and the jury from that community, who were also a black. It means learning and understanding more about each other. It means engaging the trailblazing groups like yours to teach, to grow, to include, to improve. It means not forgetting our past or ignoring our present, except your party wants to destroy anything negative about the past because your party did everything negative about the past. 99% of what's negative about the past. Or ignoring our present, but keeping both firmly in mind as we push for a better future. She did go on to point out some global human rights abuses, such as the Uyghur genocide in China, though nothing else on any of the nations on the panel. See, we need her back in there. Get Nikki Haley back in there. She told the virtual audience, I shared these stories and others to acknowledge on the international stage that I have personally experienced one of America's greatest imperfections. I have seen for myself how the original sin of slavery weaved white supremacy into our founding documents and principles.
Stop it. Get some help.
Liar. But I also shared these stories to offer up an insight, a simple truth I've learned over the years. Racism is not the problem of the person who experiences it. Huh?
I actually could kind of agree with that if it's coming from the place I think it is. Because the idea being the person that experiences racism is the person that somebody is racist against. The problem isn't the person that is experiencing racism, it's the person that is a racist, which is true.
Okay, so she just worded it terribly.
She just worded it terribly,
okay,
yes.
Cool. Of the 47 member states on the council, notable nations include China, Cuba, Libya. Oh, that's a great place. Nigeria, that's a great place. North Korea, Pakistan. That's a great place. Qatar, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, and Venezuela. It's a great human rights council right there.
Gentlemen, I wash my hands of this weirdness.
At what point do we stop paying the UN and get out?
We passed it a long time ago.
Good. This is why. President Donald Trump pulled out of the council in 2018, citing anti-Israel bias. Thank you. So there's a bunch of freaking non-human rights people in here. No. We're not being involved in this. More stuff. This is from Blinken. We humbly ask for the support of all UN member states in our bid to return to a seat in this body.
Of course, they're going to grant it because they want the U.S. on there funding them.
Yeah.
And all of their human rights atrocities.
And Nikki Haley chimed in on Twitter. She said that the council covers for dictators and human rights abusers like Russia, China, and Venezuela. Thank you.
Hey, look at that. Because she actually understands.
Because she knows a thing or two. Because she's seen a thing or two. That's stuck in my head. I don't know why. Anyway, so a history lesson on how woven racism is in our stuff. We should play our song because we don't get to play it.
Oh,
history.
Here we go. The history song. It's time for a history lesson.
I love it.
Slices of history.
Slices of history. So, how racist is the history of the United States?
About this much.
About as much as an empty can of soda pop. There's still just a little bit in there that you could never get out.
I have 2 of them.
But overall, the rest of the can was good. It's that last little bit you can't get out that's depressing. And that's what the Democrats focus on, is that last little depressing bit that you fight for, but it's flat and tastes terrible anyway. So why bother? Anyway, a little background for the United States. Current background. The United States has the most stable government in the world. Our Constitution has governed for the last 233 years, compared to an average of 17 years for countries in the rest of the world. Every 17 years, on average, countries in the world will change their constitution, change their government. So every time a new round of high schoolers grows up to 18 years old, new constitution, because we don't like our government. Huh. The U.S., so this, what I'm pointing out here is you may not agree that the United States is the greatest country in the world. I disagree with that. I believe it is the greatest country in the world for these reasons, as well as, I don't know, everyone's climbing over each other to try to get here. Still. But no matter what, I think everyone should be able to agree the United States is the most exceptional. It is the exception, not the rule. Right? It's exceptional. Mm-hmm. Here's some more stuff. United States has approximately 4% of the world's population. The U.S. produces about 25% of the world's GDP. Reason would tell me that 4% should create about 4%.
Well, yes, but 4 is also part of a quarter, which is what we do.
You're not wrong. So, depending on your source...
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
So, depending on your source, the U.S. is about... is somewhere around second place in farmable land. And it covers... The farmable land is about 17% of the United States landmass. The U.S. is constantly second or third in food production, again, depending on which metric you're using. But only 1% of the United States workforce is in agriculture, compared to China, who's number 1 with 25% of their population in agriculture, and India, who's number 2 with 43% of their population in agriculture.
And their 25% is considerably bigger than our 1%.
Considerably
bigger.
So,
and India's 43% is probably bigger than China's 25%, if we're being perfectly honest.
Right. So 1% of the United States, 330 million people, 340 million, wherever we're at now with the current census. So 3 million people-ish are in the...
3.4 million.
Are in the... are producing a good chunk of the world's food. The U.S. leads the way in medical advances, is number 1, number 2, consistently year after year after year in medical advances. Same with innovations. The United States invents a lot of stuff. And if they don't invent it, they find a way to make it better than whoever invented it. Case in point, Ford. Ford did not create the automobile. He created a cheaper, easier way to make an automobile, so everyone could afford an automobile, not just the rich and famous. Now here's where we start getting to slavery. So of the 193 countries that are recognized in the UN, 94 of them do not have laws against slavery.
So roughly half.
Roughly half. It's like 48%, 49%, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking close to half.
So if we... That one. Sorry, I'm pulling up a map that I should have had before. Criminal law on criminal law on nope. There we go. Criminal law on slavery and slave trade. You'll see here, United States provisions exist. So no slavery allowed there, no slavery allowed Mexico. Canada does not have any provisions against slavery or slave trade. Huh. Ireland does not have provisions against slavery or slave trade. Cuba, we heard about them a little bit ago. Oh, they still allow slavery legally. Who else? Venezuela? Where are they? One of these. There we go. Oh, they do have provisions against slavery for now. Middle East. Oh, look, Saudi Arabia. Provisions do not exist. China. Provisions do not exist. Huh. They do exist in Russia. Other Middle Eastern countries, they do not exist. Spain, you can still have legal slavery in Spain. We should be more like Europe, right? Sweden, Poland, Czech Republic, Switzerland.
Really? Switzerland?
Ukraine? Ukraine is not weak. Bulgaria, all of these, Algeria. Wow, surprisingly, Libya does not allow slavery. Chad. Is that why they changed Chad to Chop?
Probably.
Oh, no, it was Chaz. That's
Chaz.
It was. Yeah.
It was Chop to Chaz, wasn't it?
I
don't know.
Some dumb
Chop,
thing.
Sierra
Leone. Look at all this. South Africa. Yeah. All
Madagascar,
these places.
Nambia.
All these places.
New Guinea.
Do not outlaw slavery. Isn't that just
Vietnam?
Laos. Is this... Oh, look. North Korea. Democratic Republic of Korea. Whatever. Liars. Both of those are a lie. Democratic Republic. Anyway, so yeah, so there's a little taste of that. The U.S. was technically first to stop importing slave trade of the Western countries. It was first. It was the law was signed 3 weeks before England signed their law. In 1807, but because of the Constitution of the United States, laws don't take effect until the next year. So it looks like America was second to outlaw it because it took effect in 1808, but it was signed into law 1807. The U.S. was third or fourth to actually get rid of slavery entirely of the slave trading countries that were involved with all the slave trade stuff. But it's the United States' fault, right? Even though the slave trade started in the 1500s in Africa, amongst Africans, selling slaves to the Muslims, who were also enslaving people and selling them to the Dutch. But that's none of mine, never mind.
What better way to make money than capture your fellow men and sell them for money?
Yes.
You jellyfish.
Thomas Jefferson hated slavery, but he owned slaves. Yes, he did. And he hated that he did, to the point where he constantly tried to write laws and petition the king to allow himself to not have slaves. Because the king was forcing him and others to keep their slaves. Otherwise, they'd have to go to jail or killed. Thomas Jefferson, in the original rough draft of the Declaration of Independence. What? We've covered this before because it's amazing.
Love the original rough draft.
So we have here...
This is what we should have had.
And Thomas Jefferson lamented that it did not pass. by just a handful of votes. And himself and others noted it was places like Georgia and Carolinas and somewhere else, one of the other southern states, that did not get along with it. And it wasn't all of them. It was just representatives from those states that did not. But yeah, here's a list of things that the king is terrible about, most of which are in the final draft. And then there's this giant section right here. Right here. He has this is about the king at the time. What is it? King George? Right?
Yes.
He has waged cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to incur miserable death in the transportation thither. This piratical warfare, the opprobrium of negative infidel powers, is the war. I need to switch to reading.
The opprobrium of infidel powers is the warfare of the Christian king of Great Britain, Christian capitalized, determined to keep open a market where men should be bought and sold. He has prostituted his negative for suppressing... What? He has prostituted his negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or to restrain this... Okay, there is like a couple of spelling errors in this, like really bad.
Well, they took it from his handwriting, and I'll show you that too.
I'm not really sure what prostituted his negative is supposed to mean.
He has prostituted his negative. So he's abused his negative for suppressing every legislative. Every time they petition the king, can we not have slaves? No. Can we not? No. Can we? No. That's what he's saying. He abused.
Oh, okay.
No.
He's abused his no. He has prostituted his negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or to restrain the execrable commerce, and that this assemblage of horrors might want no fact of distinguished die. He is now exciting those very people to rise in arms among us, and to purchase that liberty of which he has deprived them, and murdering the people upon whom he also obtruded them, thus paying off former crimes committed against the liberties of one people with crimes which he urges them to commit against the lives of another. So the Old English is a little bit hard to discern in some places, but...
Yeah, to give you an idea of how much he hated slavery. So this is what they were pulling from. This is how it originally looked right here. That's his handwriting. Now, if we go down to where he's
I've seen doctors with better handwriting.
Right. Now, if we go down to where he's talking about slavery, it gets harder to read because he's pressing so hard and writing so fast.
And very, very angry.
He is angrily writing this section about slavery.
And crossing out with vigor.
And men, capitalized, Christian, underlined. He's Christian, and he's enslaving people. Men! He's enslaving men! Liberties, underlined. This is why everyone should learn cursive. Because if you don't know cursive, this can say whatever they want it to say.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say I can actually read like when I can see it clearly. I can actually read most of his.
If we zoom in more, so you can actually of our fellow citizens with the
other than the parts where he crossed out and wrote above, and it's all jumbled together
and really tiny.
It is a very rough draft that is right there.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah, so he didn't like it. He didn't like it very much. Didn't like it very much at all. He also, and it wasn't just him. Most of the founders weren't very pleased with slavery. One of the first presidents of Congress, Henry Laurens, explained, "I abhor slavery. I was born in a country where slavery had been established by British kings and parliaments as well as by the laws of the country ages before my existence. In former days, there was nothing combating the prejudices of men supported by interest. The day, I hope, is approaching when, from principles of gratitude as well as justice, every man will strive to be foremost in showing his readiness to comply with the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," from Matthew 7:12. Wait. Founders were atheists, I thought. John Jay identified the point at which the change in attitude towards slavery began. He said, "Prior to the Great Revolution, the great majority of our people had been so long accustomed to the practice and convenience of having slaves that very few among them even doubted the propriety and rectitude of it." So this has been a thing for so long, they didn't realize how damaging it was to their souls or to themselves or just how wrong it was in general. Kind of like wearing a mask.
That next one is the Jefferson
that's
quote
the Jefferson thing, and then
Benjamin Franklin in a letter to Dean Woodward in 1773.
He said, "A disposition to abolish slavery prevails in North America, that many of Pennsylvanians have set their slaves at liberty, and that even the Virginia Assembly have petitioned the Virginia, where Jefferson
Virginia
and Washington lived, and where Jefferson was in the Assembly of Virginia, have petitioned the king for permission to make a law for preventing the importation of Moor into that colony. This request, however, will probably not be granted, as their former laws of that kind have always been repealed." John Quincy Adams, known as the Hellhound of Abolition, said, "The inconsistency of the institution of domestic slavery with the principles of the Declaration of Independence was seen and lamented by all the Southern patriots of the Revolution, by no one with deeper and more unalterable conviction than by the author of the Declaration himself, Jefferson. No charge of insincerity or hypocrisy can be fairly laid to their charge. Never from their lips was heard one syllable of attempt to justify the institution of slavery. They universally consider it as a reproach fastened upon them by the unnatural stepmother country." Stepmother country. "And they saw that before the principles of the Declaration of Independence, slavery, in common with every other mode of oppression, was destined sooner or later to be banished from the earth. Such was the undoubting conviction of Jefferson to his dying day. In the memoir of his life, written at the age of 77, he gave to his countrymen the solemn and emphatic warning that the day was not distant when they must hear and adopt the great emancipation of their slaves."
General emancipation of their slaves.
General emancipation of their slaves. Almost as if he kind of knew that some sort of proclamation was...
It wouldn't surprise me if Lincoln wrote his Emancipation Proclamation based on these ideas.
Yeah, because Lincoln changed. He was
Lincoln read his proclamation and read these things
before the Battle of Gettysburg, before the Emancipation Proclamation. Lincoln was a very different person than he was after that. I'm deeply interested in what he studied, what he read, what he heard, his soul, what was happening with that, because something changed drastically with Lincoln at that time. And all of a sudden, they started winning. The Union did. Almost as if it's the original sin, as What's-Her-Face talked about at the UN, and Lincoln figured that out and decided to start fighting to end that sin. Elias Boulogne, president of the Continental Congress, said that even the sacred scriptures had been quoted to justify this iniquitous traffic. It is true that the Egyptians held the Israelites in bondage for 400 years, but gentlemen cannot forget the consequences that followed. They were delivered by a strong hand and stretched out arm, and it ought to be remembered that the almighty power that accomplished their deliverance is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We better do what we can to end this so we don't end up like the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Huh. You have John Adams.
Never in my life did I own a slave.
Yeah. Never.
And he is one of only 2 signers of the Bill of Rights. P.S.
Yes. Let's see. Sam Adams. But to the eye of reason, what can be more clear than that all men have an equal right to happiness? Nature made no other distinction other than that of higher or lower degrees of power of mind and body. Were the talents and virtues which heaven has bestowed on men given merely to make them more obedient drudges? No. In the judgment of heaven, there is no other superiority among men than a superiority of wisdom and virtue.
The father of the American Revolution.
Hallelujah.
Samuel Adams.
Charles Carroll.
Also makes a great logger.
So I'm told. Charles Carroll. Why keep alive the question of slavery? It is admitted by all to be a great evil. John Dickinson. All of these people have signed the Declaration, the Constitution, and or the Bill of Rights and other founding documents. What did I say? John Dickinson. As Congress is now to legislate for our extensive territory lately acquired, I pray to heaven that they may build up the system of government on the broad, strong, and sound principles of freedom. Curse not the inhabitants of those regions and of the United States in general with a permission to introduce bondage. Let's curse whoever wants to bring in slavery, curse them, and let's let the rest be free. Please. Benjamin Franklin. He started one of the first abolition groups, president of the Pennsylvania Abolition Society. I am glad to hear that the disposition against keeping Negroes grows more general in North America. Several pieces have been lately printed here against the practice, and I hope in time it will be taken into consideration and suppressed by the legislature. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. More from Jefferson, more from Richard Henry Lee, George Mason,
John Jay,
Benjamin Rush. I like Benjamin Rush. I'll read his. Domestic slavery is repugnant to the principles of Christianity. It is rebellion against the authority of a common father. It is a practical denial of the extent and efficacy of the death of a common savior. It is an usurpation of the prerogative of the great sovereign of the universe, who has solemnly claimed an exclusive property in the souls of men. Benjamin Rush, by the way, he was one of the ones that most of the founders looked up to. He was Dr. Benjamin Rush, which meant that he was also Reverend Benjamin Rush.
Mm-hmm.
Told you we'd be talking about some pastors in this. Yeah. They didn't like it. Didn't want it. Didn't like it, didn't want it. Didn't like it, didn't want it.
John Witherspoon. Is there a John without her spoon?
Yes. So, what was their inspiration? What was the founders' inspiration for writing these documents and all this stuff? John Adams was asked at one point, who do you and the founding fathers, because this is when this was in the early 1800s. John Adams was getting pretty old, and one of the young bucks wanted to write a history book about the founders, and asked them, what is your inspiration? Who inspired you and other founders? And he pointed out founders such as, or not founder, he pointed out people such as, let's see. Let's see. Jeremiah Gridley, the father of the bar in Boston and the preceptor of Pratt, Otis Thatcher, Cushing, and many others. Benjamin Pratt, Chief Justice of New York, Colonel John Tinch. These guys are all inspiring to him, and he gets a little further down. Richard Dana and Francis Dana, his son, first minister to Russia, and afterwards Chief Justice. Jonathan Matthew, DD is Dr. Samuel Cooper, Dr. Chase Chauncey, and Dr. James Warren, and his wife, Joseph Warren of Bunker Hill. John with. So these guys right here, the doctor guys, that's a pastor. That's a pastor.
There was a semicolon between and his wife, and then Joseph Warren.
Yes.
So Joseph Warren is not James Warren's wife.
No.
Just to be clear,
yes.
there.
Yes. Yeah. So they look to a good handful of pastors. I mentioned that I like Benjamin Rush. He's an interesting founding father that most people don't know about, and I'm still trying to learn more about him. But he praised a specific pastor, a guy by the name of Harry Hoosier. Now, most people don't know Harry Hoosier. You might have heard Hoosier before. Indiana is the Hoosier state, right? And if you go to Indiana websites and see why is it called the Hoosier state, they'll tell you something about Native Americans and blah, blah, blah. But the story of Harry Hoosier is Benjamin Rush said that Harry Hoosier is the greatest orator he has ever heard, better than Jefferson and all these other guys. He's the greatest orator he's ever heard. Hoosier was a traveling pastor, and he was a black man. He traveled around the country with, I forget his name. Forget his name. I have a lot of stuff on my mind. Please forgive me.
James Armistead?
No, not James Armistead. James Armistead is another story.
Oh, fine.
Yeah. He went around with Francis Asbury. That's who it was. Asbury is known as the founding father of the American Methodist Church. So Harry met Asbury, basically.
That sounds like a weird movie.
And he was traveling around with Bishop Asbury. And Asbury was pretty popular, drew a lot of big crowds. But Hoosier drew bigger crowds. More people came to see Hoosier than they did to see Asbury. Just here's a picture of him for those on the YouTubes. That's Mr. Hoosier. They were traveling around, and they go into the blue-collar areas, so people working in the lumber camps and the mines and things like that in the less tame areas of the colonies. And people that loved Hoosier became known as Hoosiers for following him because they were followers of Hoosier. And so they became known as Hoosiers. And all of a sudden, there's a state that's known as the Hoosier state. Huh. But, never mind. We can't talk about that history because that promotes not just a black person being successful before slavery was terminated and before civil rights, but it also promotes Christianity, which is also evil, I guess.
Apparently.
So we're told. Now, during the Revolution, this story is fantastic and needs to be a movie. James Armistead. What a man. James Armistead used to be a slave, and he asked his master if he could join the revolution and help them out. His master said, sure, and let him go. That white supremacist owner of his let him go be part of the revolution, which would undoubtedly mean that he would gain freedom, because part of black people, part of the thing with the revolution is if you were a black person and you joined the military, you became a free man. You were emancipated. Oh, I didn't hear that in school. Huh. But anyways, so James Armistead, he gets to he gets to the camp where Washington and all them are, and he eventually meets Lafayette. Lafayette hated slavery as well. He thought it was abhorrent.
You would never know that from the play.
You wouldn't know a lot from the play.
I know he was French.
I know he was French. Can you not tell by this outrageous accent?
And a little bit flamboyant.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was French, so...
He was French, so naturally.
Naturally.
There we go. That's the picture I was looking for. Like, the U.S. Army actually has a page about him. But, so, yeah, this is Lafayette here. And this is James Armistead. Not Lafayette's slave. But the British were beating the snot. There's another picture of him. Beating the snot out of the Americans on every front. Washington and Lafayette were getting upset because they're losing left and right. James Armistead asked, is there any way that I could help? And I don't know if there's... I'm not sure. So what if I go to their camp and figure out what they're doing? And then I let you know. That's really dangerous. We can't let you know. No, it's I can do it. So he goes to the British camp. And when he gets there, he tells the British, I'm an escaped slave. I hate the Americans. They're terrible and all this stuff. The British like, okay, yeah, you can be one of us. And so he goes to work around the camp, basically being a slave at the camp, helping the soldiers with whatever, cooking meals, all that jazz. He gets the attention of the generals, specifically a certain general who once fought for the Americans until he got jealous that Washington was taking all the credit because Washington was actually doing a good job. Benedict Arnold. So Benedict Arnold takes in James Armistead as basically a personal assistant, and he's one of the top generals for the British at this time. And since he's one of the top generals, he's involved with most of the planning meetings for strategy and all that stuff. James Armistead sneaks out the plans to Washington night after night. And suddenly the British are not winning as many fights as they used to win, and the Americans are losing less and less lives each time. So Benedict Arnold gets transferred to another area, and then Armistead gets the attention of Lord Cornwallis of the British.
Cornwallis?
The commanding general of the number one general for the British. And he takes him in and he said, James, I think there's a spy in our camp. James, no. What makes you think that?
I think it was General Arnold.
I think it was Benedict Arnold. He's always got them shifty eyes. I saw blue on the inside of his coat. But Cornwallis tells James that the Americans seem to know our every move. They know when we're coming. They're ready for our attacks. They're ready for everything that we do. I was wondering, I know you hate the Americans, but would you go spy on them to see if you can figure out how they know what we're doing?
Well,
James Armistead, that's kind of dangerous. And I know. But if you could do that, it'd be really great. All right, I'll go do it. James Armistead becomes the first double agent for the United States. And Cornwallis doesn't know the wiser. James Armistead's information is a major part of what leads to American victory at Yorktown. Because they knew everything that was going on. They knew all the troop movements. They were able to feed false information to the British that seemed legit, but actually wasn't. Got them more entrapped. British troops got separated because of storms and all this stuff. And it all led to Cornwallis getting cornered and his eventual surrender. All of this because James Armistead was willing to spy for the United States. A sad part of this is because he was a spy, he wasn't considered a soldier. So the state that he belonged to, Virginia or something like that, wouldn't allow him to be emancipated because he wasn't technically a soldier. He was a spy.
So he returned to slavery.
However, Lafayette and George Washington appealed for him, and they granted the appeal. Because how can you disagree with the two generals that made liberty possible for everyone? So that needs to be a movie.
Yeah.
That needs to be a movie.
Yeah, seriously.
Because I know it's fun to go and redo terribly all the things that have done before. But when you can have... it's William Barton that came up with the plan. And the plan was to row some boats through an armada of British ships to a fortified fort on an island to capture the second in command of the British. He said, it's a suicide mission, so I'm only taking volunteers. A handful of men volunteered. Half of them were black, half of them were white. What? Among them was Prince Sisson. And so what they do is they decide nighttime is probably the best time to try to sneak in, as any covert operation happens. And in order to sneak past these giant warships, they put cloth on the oars so that when they're paddling the boats, they don't make a slapping sound in the water. They just kind of swish through a little more quietly. And Prince Sisson went on the front boat, the boat in the front. He was raring to go, ready to make this happen. They make their way to where the General Prescott's at, and he's locked away behind a door. They've knocked out of the guards and all this stuff getting to him. And he's locked behind this door, and they're looking at it. If we knock this down, it's going to alert the whole place if we try to crack through this thing. And Mr. Sisson, being large in stature, said, I got this. Just step back. He goes down the end of the hall, charges the door, breaks through the door, knocks out the general, throws him over his shoulder like a bag of potatoes. They get back in the boats and head back to friendly lines.
The best part of that story, though, is the fact that the general's aide-de-camp leaped from a window undressed and attempted to escape, but was still taken with the general.
And now you're coming
and
with
brought
us.
off in safety.
No witnesses.
No witnesses.
Don't care how naked you are. You're not witnessing anything.
A large man blows through the door and grabs your superior officer, and your reaction is to jump naked through the window. We're going streaking.
Going streaking. Yeah, the British agreed to their terms and exchanged prisoners. They got their second in command back, and we got ours back because of Prince Sisson.
And his incredibly hard head.
His incredibly hard head.
and willingness to tackle a naked man.
The final story I want to share absolutely dismantles 1619 Project from its foundation. This being that of Anthony Johnson.
What?
Anthony Johnson was a black man, but not just any black man. He was the first legal slave owner in the United States. Well, in the colonies. Because he argued to the courts that his indentured servant, who was also black, was too lazy and didn't pay off his debt. And he said in order for him to pay off his debt, he needs to be mine forever. And the court said, okay, that makes sense. And thus slavery began. Now, where did Anthony Johnson come from, this black man? Well, 1619.
I don't know, but he sounds like a dick.
1619 Project points towards Jamestown as being the origin for the United States, which it is not. It is actually the Pilgrims up north where most of the founders get their wisdom from. You can find that in their own writings, as well as the things they believe, which were more in line with the Pilgrims and not the founders of Jamestown. Anyway, that being said, in Jamestown in 1619, a British ship captured a Dutch slave ship, or no, a Portuguese, slave ship, and brought it to Jamestown. There were 19 slaves, I believe, on this ship, and the people of Jamestown said, you're not slaves, you're all indentured servants. And after a few years, all of them were granted freedom, and all of them were given land. And they, in turn, sponsored indentured servants. Now, indentured servant, for those that may not know, is someone that says, at that time, it was, I want to get to this new land, but I don't have the money for it. Well, it costs $10,000. Yeah, I don't have $10,000. All right, well, if you come and work for me for 7 years, you will be able to be free to do whatever you want. And I will pay your way to get here if you work for me for 7 years. After that, you can do whatever you want. That's what indentured servant was, and still is in some parts of the world. If Elon Musk decided it to be so and you wanted to hop on board the next flight to Mars, and it costs $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, whatever.
It's all right. Rich people aren't going to Mars. Fodder is. I mean, explorers are.
Right. If you make an agreement with Elon Musk, well, I don't have $1 million, but I really want to go check out Mars. You're probably going to die. Yeah, but I really want to see it. All right, well, if you live...
Sign this waiver.
If you live...
And I own you for 7 years.
How much do you make right now? I make $80,000 a year. Okay, well, if you work this many years, we'll count that towards the $1 million, and you get to go to Mars. Okay. That's basically what it is an agreement like that. Anyways, so these now free men from that ship started sponsoring indentured servants. Anthony Johnson, was one of those who were sponsored. So he came here as a indentured servant, and then he in turn enslaves a black person because they were lazy. And this is what the 1619 Project is founded on. That is your slice of history.
Yes, it is.
Took him by surprise.
You did.
How'd I do?
Pretty good. Did pretty good.
Yeah, there's a ton more stuff. I didn't pull up a lot of stuff on the actual video end of it. I might in editing, throw up some pictures or whatever. But I tried to put as many links to things as I could find in the links for this episode. So enjoy. And with that, check out our actual Slices of History episode. I don't think I linked it on the last podcast, now that I think about it.
I don't think you did either, but we are now having that up for free.
Yep.
So go check it out and tell us what you think.
And the more traffic that gets, the more we'll want to do it. Because that's what Mike and I like to do, is history stuff.
Yeah.
Especially, for me, especially when I can tie it to garbage that's going on today, like the UN.
We didn't realize how much what we did before tied to what was going on.
Holy crap,
Oh my
yes.
gosh, that hurt my soul.
So we recorded that back, when did we figure out? In October?
October. Mm-hmm. We recorded that in October.
Well before the elections.
And then the elections happened in November, and ouch.
As we're watching as we're watching the elections live and seeing things that seem very questionable happen, and then we see all the lawsuits, and then we see Time Magazine, YouTube.
Amo, you magnificent bastard, I read your book!
Yeah, Battle of Athens. Check it out, because it might answer some questions, especially for those that doubt the whole deep state thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe until you see it's actually been recorded in U.S. history, and people fought against it physically.
Yeah.
So
there's that.
Yeah, so there's some buzzwords for YouTube to try to ban us again.
Yeah, for sure. So
I'll just slap the Time Magazine article up again. And
again.
we'll be
It's fine.
This is our free pass.
Yes. This
Get out of YouTube jail free
multi-pass. Multi-pass.
Do it. Yeah. There's tons. This, what I shared with you on this Black History stuff doesn't even scratch the surface of our actual Black history. There's the first elected black person was back in the 1700s.
Oh.
The beginning of our country, and it was praised in the papers because people thought it was great that someone was elected, not because black or white, but because the content of their character.
Huh.
And they reelected him for 49 years.
What? There's a story that should be made into a movie.
Or you can read about the black guy that rode with Paul Revere that continued on after Paul Revere got captured by the British to warn Lexington and Concord. What?
What?
Huh? You can read about the handful of black people that were among the wounded and dead at the Battle of Lexington and Concord, side by side with white people that were...
You know what happens when you destroy history?
You repeat it?
Yep. That's what happens.
Whether intentionally or unintentionally, you are repeating it.
Well, as usual, like, subscribe, leave us some comments, send us some hate mail.
Buy a shirt.
Burn
it. Whatever.
Burn a shirt.
Wear it with
as long as you
pride.
pay for it. Who cares?
Don't care what happens after you pay for it.
Support in any way you can find to do so.
Yes, because we love it. And we love you.
Indeed.
Random citizens.
We love you, random citizen. So until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Pulled up over here, and I'll let you know when we can do the thing.
Well, I'm already recording.
I know. I'm aware.
Just wait
I
for
am
you to
aware.
tell
It's
me
mostly
so that
the
I can
music
put the
end
music.
of it.
It might help if I was on the right.
The eyes are open.
If I was on the right soundboard. Hold on. Let me scroll through here and see if I can find it. All the way back. Okay, we're ready.
Oh, you are prepared.
I am prepared.
Be prepared.
No king, la 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 la.
Idiots, there will be a king, and the
thing.
We are in sync. Good. 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 Oh, I hate his face so much. I've never seen a man love the camera as much as this man. He probably French kisses one when he goes to bed each night. With a mask on, of course. Just in case.
Seriously, Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if I do enough to make more money, and then I see his face and realize I should make a lot more money.
We've only been right about everything he's said the entire year before he said it.
Right.
But, what do we know? We just look at the research.
What do we know? We're just two dudes in a basement reading news articles.
Reading news articles and studies and all that stuff. And
making logical leaps.
Doing that whole dangerous critical thinking thing. Not trusting Wikipedia.
We're going to have to take that down a notch. We're making other people look bad.
But hey, I think we've got more listeners than the Oscars have viewers, so.
Well, that's not hard.
Hey, a bar is a bar.
A bar is a bar. It doesn't matter how low the
set
bar
a goal
is.
somewhere.
Well,
and
especially if you take out the homeless people that they that they had to remove to have the Oscars, that they then just let stay there so that their viewership would go up.
All right, play the music.